All right, first of all, we're going to go over the front page of the packet 7.7, and you needed to see a video on discovery education, but rather than making everybody go watch the video, I'm just going to give you that information, and then you can think about some of the questions afterwards. So in this video, there was a guy named Mr. Bain who owned a hardware store, and he has two kinds of brushes. He has the economy brushes, and he has the best brushes. Now, from a supplier, Mr. Bain buys the economy brushes for $2, and then he turns around and sells them to the public for $2.50. So for each brush he sells, he gets a 50-cent profit. Yay, Mr. Bain. Then there are the best paintbrushes that he's got, and those cost $4 when he buys them from the supplier, and he sells them to you and me for $4.75. So he actually gets more money for these. He gets 75 cents, but they also cost more. Now, he doesn't have an unlimited amount of money to buy paintbrushes. For every month, he can spend $250 buying these paintbrushes from the supplier. Okay? But he doesn't want to just buy all economy or all best, because if he bought all economy with this $250, he'd have more than 50, and he can't sell more than 50. So the question is, what combination of these economy and best brushes with his $250 should he buy? What will get him the most money? Okay, and remember that each economy brush he buys is 50 cents profit, and each best brush he buys is 75 cents of profit. The best he can get is $53 out of these paint brushes. So your job is to see if you can get that. Good luck. So now we're going to look at our own business, and we're going to see if we can figure out how do we maximize our profit? How do we get the most money? And we're going to start this the way we start all the other story problems. We're going to look for the numbers, and we're going to look for where they're grouped together. So some of the first numbers we see are about hours to work on, and these are skateboards. There are short boards and long boards. So I'm going to underline everything that has something to do with how much time we're given to work on our skateboards. So 2 hours on a long board, 1 hour on a short board, but in our business we can only work for 14 hours. Now we also have some more information. When it comes to just material, paint and decals, we can only work on 10 boards in a week. We don't have enough material for anything else. And finally, we have money makers. We make a profit of $20 for every long board and $15 for every short board. So that's where we're going to make money. This is me trying to get the webcam to work. Okay, so we're going to make sure we have an objective. That's our money. We want to make money. And that's the last thing in there. It talks about making a profit. And we're going to give these guys some variables. Long boards will be X and short boards will be Y. We're going to make an equation out of that. We have $20 for every long board, or X, and $15 for every short board, or Y. And together, that is a profit. That is where we make money. So we like this a lot. It makes us happy. There we are, our money maker. Now our business has things that are called constraints. And a constraint is a limit. So we're going to create some equations for these limits or these constraints. First of all, we're short on time. We only have 14 hours a week to work on these boards. That's a constraint. That's a limit. Long boards take longer. They make more money, but they take longer. Short boards don't make as much money, but they take not as much time. Long boards were X, so I'm going to create 2X. That's 2 hours for every long board, plus 1Y. That's 1 hour for every short board. And altogether, they can be up to 14 hours, but they can't go over 14 hours. So we're stuck at 14 hours, okay? We had another limit. We had a limit on materials. So we have 10 boards we can make in a week. This is kind of a strange one, but all the X's and Y's can only add up to 10. They can't go past 10. 10 is our max. So X plus Y, that's all the long boards, and all the short boards have to be 10. So those are the constraints. Those are the limits on our business. What we're going to do is we're going to put these limits onto a graph. And to do that, we're going to graph these two equations. But we need Y to be by itself. So I'm going to rewrite this down here. And we're going to see if we can make Y all alone. So there's Y. Don't touch Y. Don't move Y. Just let him sit there. We're going to subtract away the entire X. Now these are not like terms. You cannot combine them on the right side. So we're still going to have 14. And then we're going to have a minus 2X. Now, a 1y is technically a lone y, but just to show you what it would look like if we had to divide it out, we'll divide off that 1, and it divides into everything. So we still have 14, and then we have minus 2 over 1x. That's the slope. So we start at 14. Don't start with your x. Start with the number that doesn't have a variable. And then rise over run. And there is a negative in front of that 2. So we're going to go down 2 instead of rising. Down 2 and then run 1 over 1. And we want these graphs to be accurate because this is a business we're running. We can't just kind of throw money around. So we're going to be really accurate and repeat the slope over and over. And then we're going to play connect the dots because, everybody wants to be in kindergarten again. All right. And that is the constraint or the limit for the hours of our business. And now that it's on the graph, it's actually called a boundary, and I'll show you why in a minute. We're going to do the same thing with the other equation. This is the equation on the materials. We can only have 10 boards. We want Y alone, so we're going to subtract over X and whatever's attached to it, nothing in this case. Again, they're not like terms, so it's just 10 and minus X. And you need a slope, so we're going to fill in 1 over 1. We're going to start on the 10. Start with the number that doesn't have a variable, and it's always on the y-axis. So we're going to start with the 10, and then we're going to go down 1 over 1. So there it goes, down 1 over 1. And because, again, we're going to make sure we're accurate with our business money, we're going to keep repeating that slope because it's a pattern. And patterns are the numbers that have the variables because patterns repeat and variables allows you to repeat. And back to kindergarten, we're going to play connect the dots. You got to take pleasure in the simple joys. There we go. All right, that's a boundary on our materials. So what we're going to do is we're going to shade, and we're going to shade the places where our business can operate. We don't want to shade the negative Y's or the negative X's because we're not going to create negative money or negative skateboards. That's just kind of strange. So we're going to start from 0, and we're going to start shading our way out. And this is why these lines are called boundaries. Okay? They're boundaries because as we shade out, we're going to run into these lines and stop. Once you run into one of those lines, you cannot go past it. That's the boundary. If you go past it, either your business won't have enough time or it won't have enough money. It depends on what line you just went past. The red line was hours or time, and the blue line was the materials that we couldn't make more than 10 skateboards. So this is called the feasible region. It's the region where any XY combination will be beneath or at the limits of these constraints. So we have enough time in this area and we have enough materials in this area to make our business work. So this is where our business can operate. And here is also where we're going to find out how we make money. All right. We're now going to finish this up and find out how we make the most money out of our skateboards. So we're going to need, again, objective equation. That's where we make profit. And we're also going to need to look at our feasible region. That's the shaded part of the graph. Now what we're looking for is we're looking for the corners. They're also known as the vertices, where the lines come together and the boundaries change direction. Okay, so we're looking for the corners of the boundaries. And at each corner, there's a chance that you can maximize your profit. There's also a chance you can minimize your profit. So I'm going to circle all the corners. For this graph, there are 4 of them. Each graph can be a little bit different. Most of the graphs we'll work with have 4 corners. So we're going to record what the x's and y's are at each corner. So make sure you know what axis you're on if you're on an axis. Okay, that top point is on the y-axis, so x is going to be 0. So we're going to record down here that our x is 0, but the y, which is the height, is 10. Now you can also record this as a point, 0, 10, but if it helps you to keep track of x and y, record them separately as an x and a y. So this next point has an x at 4 and a y at 6. And remember, if you need help doing this, y is the height. Okay, so if you wonder how tall something is, how high up it is, that's the y. And again, you can record it as an ordered pair or as an x and a y separately. Down on the bottom, that's the x-axis. So that x is at a 7, and there is no height, so the y is 0. So this has an ordered pair of 7, 0. And the last point is the origin. So everybody at the origin goes to 0, so x and y are 0, or it's 0, 0. So those are all the points. Now the points are important, or the vertexes, the vertices, the vertex are important because they're where you can get the most money and the least money. So we're going to go back to our profit equation with the smiley face. That's where we make money. We had $20 for x's and we have $15 of profit for y. So I'm going to copy that equation down again because I'm now going to use it. So here's my profit equation. This is where I get to make money. Always excited about making money. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each point separately. And I'm going to plug in the x and the y into that equation. So 0 in for x, 10 in for y. And you can do it from the ordered pair, or if you have them separate, that works too. So $20, and then we plug in an x, which is 0. $15, and plug in the 10y. Notice x and y are not in the equation anymore. We substituted those values in. And then we get 0 plus 150. And that equals 150. That would be our profit if we went with that corner. We would make $150. Next corner, we're going to plug in a 4 for the x. And we're going to plug in a 6 for the y. So this is a different corner, and this will make a different amount of money. So 20 times the 4, that will be 80. 15 times the 6, that's going to be 90. And we're going to add those two together and get 170. So that corner actually makes more money than the first corner we went with. So let's try out the next corner, which is another extreme. We're going to plug in for the x and the y again. So there's our $20, and we plugged in a 7 for the x. There's the 15, we plugged in a 0 for the y. And now we have 140 plus nothing, which is still 140. So that's not making as much money. And then this, the origin is almost always the minimized corner. So at the origin, if everything is 0, 20 times 0 is going to be nothing. 15 times 0 is nothing. If you add them together, we'll show you that it's still nothing. That's the minimized corner. So you can minimize your profit, but we want to maximize it. So we want the $170. So that's the corner, and the x's and the y's, remember that they mean something. Okay, so if we look back here on the second page, the x's are the long boards, and the y's are the short boards. So that XY combo, that means something. That 4, that's an X number. That's the long boards. So what we should do in our business is every week we should customize 4 long boards. And then looking back to the Y, those are the short boards. We should customize 6 short boards. And that's what we should go for in our business to make the most money. Because if we do that, that will get us $170 worth of profit. And that will be the most profit we can get out of our business. So yay, we are successful business people.